a 14-year-old girl, bullied, beaten, and now missing. In the small city of Jiangyu, Sichuan province, a shocking case of school bullying has sparked outrage far beyond its borders. What began as a cry for justice has exploded into one of China's most intense street protests in years, with thousands of citizens clashing head-on with heavily armed police. Tear gas, night raids, and cries of "Xi Jinping step down" now echo through the streets, a chilling sign of public anger boiling over. On July 22nd, a horrifying incident unfolded in Jiangyu. A 14-year-old girl was surrounded by a group of minors, forced to strip, kneel, slapped repeatedly, beaten with sticks, and kicked in the back. The assault was filmed and circulated online, igniting nationwide outrage. For many, this was not just another case of school bullying. It was a brutal reminder of China's deep-rooted problems in protecting its children. The girl's mother, who was hearing impaired, had long worried about her daughter being targeted. Reports suggest the victim had been bullied repeatedly before, and her attackers had even been taken to the police station multiple times. Yet, because they were underage, they were released without serious consequences. One attacker reportedly boasted, "I've been to the police station dozens of times. Every time, I'm out in 20 minutes." This brazen arrogance hinted at possible protection from powerful connections. Rumors began to spread that one bully's father was a senior official in Jiangyu's Political and Legal Affairs Commission. By August 2nd, the story took a darker turn. The victim suddenly went missing. Her family, already desperate for justice, now faced a chilling fear. Was she being silenced? Online, speculation ran wild. Some feared she might have been harmed to prevent her from testifying. Others suspected she was being hidden away under government pressure. That same day, the disturbing bullying video spread like wildfire across Chinese social media. It was impossible to ignore. The brutal blows, the humiliation, the cruelty. Hashtags about the case began trending, until they were swiftly deleted by censors. Still, screenshots and re-uploads kept the story alive, fueling public anger. By August 4th, thousands of Jiangyu residents, young and old, had gathered outside the city government offices. Many carried handwritten signs demanding justice for the girl and punish the bullies. Others shouted into megaphones, calling out not just the attackers, but also corrupt officials and police inaction. The crowd's energy was electric, a rare display of mass defiance in a country where public protest is risky and often punished severely. Authorities were quick to respond, not to the citizens' demands, but to crush the protest. That evening, dozens of police buses rolled into the square. Riot police in black uniforms and helmets formed tight lines, blocking every street leading to the government compound. Loudspeakers warned the crowd to disperse for public safety. When the protesters refused, the crackdown began. Tear gas canisters were fired into the crowd, sending people coughing and scrambling. Pepper spray misted the air, and water cannons blasted the front lines. Videos show chaotic scenes. Protesters trying to shield themselves with umbrellas, police swinging batons at anyone who resisted, and terrified onlookers filming the mayhem. At one point, chants of "Xi Jinping step down," "CCP step down," rang out, echoing across the square, a rare and dangerous act of defiance in China's tightly controlled society. In another clip, 7 or 8 officers can be seen surrounding and beating a man and a woman, while a bystander screams, "They're beating people!" By midnight, the square looked like a battlefield. Smoke hung in the air, debris littered the streets, and groups of protesters were cornered and arrested. Still, some regrouped in nearby neighborhoods, continuing to chant and throw bottles and stones at the police. By the early hours of August 5th, hundreds of protesters had been detained. Eyewitness videos captured disturbing details: detainees being forced into livestock transport trucks, crammed inside like animals. In one particularly haunting image, the words "liberation" were painted in large characters on the truck's front. A bitter irony for those inside. Residents also noticed something strange. Their phones were losing signal. Several netizens claimed they saw military-grade signal jamming vehicles entering the city center. Social media users speculated that authorities had intentionally blocked communications to stop videos and images from reaching the outside world. For a brief period, even mobile payment apps stopped working in some areas, a frightening reminder of how easily the government can control digital life in China. By daylight, the streets near Jiangyou's city government building had been cleaned. Barricades were gone, but a heavy police presence remained. Uniformed officers stood on every corner, and plainclothes agents blended into the crowd, watching silently. To the people of Jiangyu, this was no longer just about a single case of school bullying. It had become a symbol of something much larger, the sense that the powerless have no justice in China's system. The victim's family, especially her mother, had fought for months to get help. They had pleaded with school officials, reported to police, and even publicly begged for protection, only to be ignored or dismissed. When the perpetrators faced little more than a slap on the wrist, it felt like a message to the whole community. In China, the law bends for those with power. Many protesters openly linked this case to broader social grievances, corruption, inequality, and the arrogant impunity of the political elite. The chants against Xi Jinping and the Communist Party were not spontaneous accidents. They reflected deep frustration with decades of unaccountable governance. For older residents, memories of past crackdowns, from the Tiananmen protests of 1989 to more recent mass arrests in places like Wuhan, resurfaced. For the younger generation, this was perhaps their first taste of direct confrontation with state power. While Jiangyu was in turmoil, Beijing remained largely silent. State media either ignored the protests or framed them as public disturbances that had been lawfully handled. There was no mention of the missing girl's whereabouts, nor of the alleged political connections shielding her attackers. Internationally, however, the story began to spread. Chinese diaspora communities in North America and Europe shared videos and testimonies online, translating slogans and eyewitness accounts. Human rights groups condemned the crackdown, calling it yet another example of China's intolerance toward peaceful dissent. Some Western lawmakers demanded accountability. This is not just about bullying, one U.S. congressman stated. It's about a regime that protects abusers while punishing those who speak out. The United Nations Human Rights Office expressed concern and urged Chinese authorities to investigate the girl's disappearance. Beijing, as usual, dismissed all foreign criticism as interference in internal affairs. The streets of Jiangyu may now be quiet, but the anger remains. For many Chinese citizens, the case has become a symbol of everything wrong with the country's justice system. Selective law enforcement, protection for the connected, and punishment for the powerless. Whether the missing girl will ever be found remains uncertain. But her story, and the thousands who risked arrest to demand justice, has already left a mark. It has reminded the world that beneath China's image of stability lies deep social resentment, waiting for a spark. The question now is whether that spark will die out or ignite something much bigger.